Following footsteps, unlighted room, feeling the cold, feeling the gloom. Voices are speaking, around any way. Bodies unkept, horrible display.
What's up, everybody? Brand new Sunday Spin. It's almost spring, and we're happy to see you guys. Episode 3, Season 2. My name is Greno, and my cohort and always stand-up man, Vinny G. To my right, Vinny, how are you today?
Greno, I couldn't be any better. You're looking good. How are things in the 719?
Chilly, my friend, but we're doing well.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. You're looking well, man.
You too, my friend. I want to, before we get into our wonderful guest that you're going to introduce, let's let people know that we're powered by Stables Media and brought to you by What's Left Records in Colorado Springs and Grooves Records in San Francisco.
Absolutely. Anyway, our guest today is a very, very dear friend of mine for very many years, and we're going to get into that. But he is one of the fantastic drummers that we have here in our local live San Diego hotline up to an area where we're getting live music again. And it's really fascinating. Basically a little north up to the Temecula Murrieta area, you're going to run into the best live band, in my opinion, out there, the Cheez Whiz band. And we're lucky enough to have their drummer, Chris Slattery, stop by. Chris, want to thank you for your time. Welcome to the Sunday Spin, brother.
Oh, thank you very much for having me today. I'm excited.
You're looking good. It's great to have you here. Want to start off by telling you that Friday night, Chris and his band, the Cheez Whiz band, played one of the first gigs, if I'm not mistaken, since the outlets have opened again. How'd it go?
It went extremely well. Out of our home base, the Cove in Marietta. It's where we had our very first show back in 2018. Much fan support. You know, the Cove does things right by making sure that people are doing what they need to do to stay safe and healthy. The band does what they need to do, and all of our fans came out, and it was like like the COVID had never been here. So we had a fantastic time.
That's great.
Oh, man, you know that's music to our ears, brother. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
And who better in that area than the Cheez Whiz band? Because, you know, for my money, they are the best party band, really not just in the Murrieta area, but in San Diego County and down south. You guys really have your act together, and you are a party band.
Yeah, we are. And we serve
now.
cheese and crackers at our shows.
We need that so much in live music right now. People need happiness. So I salute you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
So how did it begin, Chris? When did you first start playing the drums?
I was 10 years old, and after 6 months of not being able to play guitar, I looked over and saw my oldest brother, Bob, just beating the crap out of a drum set, and I thought, it just looks way more fun. So I had to wait until he was not at the house, and I had to beg my mom to go to play his kit, and she had to warn me to make sure I put everything back the way it was, or I'd get the crap kicked out of me. So
Right.
when he was gone, I think the first album I ever learned to play to was the Cars Candy-O album, and I truly believe that the reason that album, if you remember the album cover, it was a Corvette
Yeah.
and a gorgeous woman on the front in some lingerie. So, you know, what better for a 10-year-old to learn to?
Right. What an introduction to rock and roll, right?
There you go, man.
Absolutely.
it for me.
Absolutely. And the first band that you really found after the Candy-O period, the drummer you admired, the drummer that you found playing to records with, because let's face it, we all do it. Who would that be?
The late, great Neil Peart of Rush.
Wow.
And it was, I didn't find them. It was, I found my brother who found them. And everything that influenced my brother became my influence.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the drums, as we all know, and anybody who's listened to Rush, it's a mixture of the drums and the lyrics that Neil Peart wrote.
Absolutely.
It just draws you in and hooks you right from the beginning.
And
So
it's such a true point. I'm so glad you brought that up because everybody forgets about the lyrics when they talk about Neil Peart. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that because it's so overlooked and sorely missed.
Absolutely. I do have after he had passed, there is a brewery in New Jersey that started making beer in honor of Neil. And as we all call him, Neil Peart, his last name is actually pronounced Peart, and they actually made the beer. It says Pear-T on the can, so you pronounce it correctly. And I had get out on social media and I said, hey, if anybody can get a hold of this, please let me know. And within 4 hours, very, very good friends of my oldest brother, Sue and Martin Deliker, were at that brewery, picked up a 4-pack, brought it back to H-Town, gave it to my mom, and in the mail it went, and it was probably here within a week, and I still have it sitting over on my side.
oh, that's great.
Wow. Yeah. Great to be famous, isn't it, brother?
Chris, what was
identify
your favorite song that you liked to jam along to back in the day? What was your favorite Rush tune that you liked to jam along with?
That's hard. So here we go. Hemisphere, side 1. 2112, side 1. Spirit of Radio, Free Will, Red Barchetta, YYZ, Xanadu. Those were all the early introductions. And then came, Signals, Big Money. It's just so hard to pick one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an answer that keeps on giving.
Sure. And Chris, the first band experience, because it's going to lead to, my next question. But the very first band, was it a New Jersey band?
Oh, absolutely.
Was it a Hackettstown band?
It was high school, and all the musicians that were there. I think, Dave Reed was on guitar, Ken Kowalik was on bass, Lee McGregor was on vocals, and we actually stole the band name from my older brother, and we were called Cool People on a Funny Farm 2.
Cool People on a Funny Farm 2. And that would be at age
14, 15, high school, playing in the high school cafeteria.
Wow.
Oh, and that cafeteria, let me tell you, that cafeteria, I do have memories of that cafeteria. What an amazing echo in that building, right? The whole school had an echo to it. So I've kind of let the cat out of the bag. Mr. Slattery and I actually went to school together in a small town in New Jersey many, many years ago, followed different paths. Obviously, he's very, very successful and happy in his life, and I couldn't be happier for that, Chris. So,
thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to talk about the Cheez Whiz band a bit more.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the members, because it's quite an entourage, and I'm sure you have some shout outs.
And I'd have to go back just a little bit. Fortunately for me, in 2010, I had answered an ad on Craigslist that there was an 80s band looking for a drummer. And as arrogant as I was, I simply sent them a link to a website that I had at the time. And somebody close to me looked at me and said, "You're an idiot. Don't send them a link to a website. Answer their ad." So I went back and I wrote this very long email, and I got an audition. And then I made it to the second round of auditions, and then I was selected to be in the band. The band's name was Freeze Frame, and it was an 80s band, and it was owned by a gentleman named Paul Early, the owner of the Cheez Whiz band. I was in that band for 3 years. There were two sides to the band. It was Freeze Frame, the 80s band. It was completely dress up. And there was the corporate side, which was Groove Factory. My Marine Corps came calling in 2013. They asked me, I had to go to Japan for a year, so I stepped back from the band. While I was in Japan, the owner had sold the band to the bass player. I came back from Japan in 2015. I had worked myself into the sub seat for the drummer, and then eventually the drummer had left, and I had worked myself back to the number one seat. In 2017, after I retired from the Marine Corps, Paul, the prior owner, still the keyboardist and one of the male vocalists, had decided to walk away from the band, and I walked with him. And he and his wife had this idea for quite some time. They just didn't know how to put it together. And the Cheez Whiz band was formed. And it was all 80s. It was all dress up. It's all choreographed. And we cover every genre. So, I mean, when you're looking at our set list, you're looking from Motley Crue to Tiffany, back to Poison, over to Wham, and everything in between. We have criteria. The criteria must be the song has got to be, in some way, shape, or form, cheesy. It's got to come off as cheesy. And the other criteria is we look for songs that nobody else plays. Like, we scoured the valley from LA to San Diego. We looked at every 80s band. We looked at their set lists, and they're playing the same thing over and over again. We just didn't want to be that band. So we stand at about probably 175 songs, and no two shows are alike. We have that ability to completely do two shows back to back and not repeat one song. It's a 6-member band. Paul is the singer. He plays the guitar. He runs everything. His wife, Di, she is a backup singer, and she's our complete choreographer. She does all of our props and everything. Greg Solstice plays bass guitar. Will James plays guitar. And Leah Grajiva is our female lead vocalist. And I'm the drummer. And here's a little known fact. The bass player, the lead female singer, Paul, and myself are all members of that 80s band that I first told you about, Freeze Frame. We're all back in this band. So the core, Vince, like we talk about, the Temecula Valley, San Diego, the core of musicians is very strong, very friendly. So, you know, you keep your bonds tight with the people that you work with. You don't ever burn those bridges. And here we are, you know, over 10 years later, and we're still playing together.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, but it's not surprising to me in the least bit that you guys are not only performing, but that you're one of the only bands performing right now, because let's face it, in my opinion, you're the top live act in the area.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
And you know, I don't get out much. I'm a busy man. You know, I got the washing and the ironing to do here, but doesn't mean I'm not checking you out on YouTube. Doesn't mean I'm not one of your biggest fans. The one thing that I really do want to give you a lot of credit for, not just how diverse the library is, but the 6 members really seem, in terms of ability and flexibility, like a baseball lineup to me. And it's amazing. You know, you can fit people in different areas, and the remarkable flexibility it gives you. Your 6 sounds like an orchestra in a lot of ways.
It is.
And I mean that with all due respect. It's an amazing group of talented musicians, brother.
Appreciate that. We also keep our subs very close. Every member of the band has at least 2 or 3 subs, except for our lead singer, because he's so integral in the keyboards and the vocal. But we all have our subs, and everybody does a good job of managing their calendars with their priorities, because we're all in other projects. But you know, when that happens, you have to determine what your primary project is. You have to give that primary project its due diligence to say, yes, I'm with you first, before you move on to that second and third project. So, you know, we book our gigs at least a month to 2 to 3 months out. At some venues, we're booked through the end of the year right now. So it allows us to manage our calendar a little bit better.
Yeah, and again, the success is definitely deserved, because you guys are a hardworking band. I mean, before COVID, you were playing 2 or 3 shows every weekend.
Yeah.
And let's face it, you know, I mean, I don't have to guess your age. It's not easy to do. You have to have a great amount of passion and commitment to be able to do that. I do want to ask you this question, Chris, because retired military, how much of that discipline goes into your everyday life, not just in your successful realty, but as the drummer for the Cheez Whiz band?
People often get shocked when I make this statement. There's the technical side and there's the performance side. And technically, I've never taken a drum lesson in my life. I'm self-taught. I learn by ear. I can pretty much hear a song and duplicate the song. That's my strong point. As a drummer, never going through my rudiments, on a scale of 1 to 10, I rate myself at a 5. And then people are like, there's no way. I'm like, well, that's where I rate myself, knowing what I know, what it takes to drum and the drummers out there. On a performance scale, I know how to put on a show. I know that the music comes first, but I also know how to bring the crowd in and draw them to what's going on stage. So
you're a sexy beast. It's the reason, right?
My military career and that discipline pay a lot, because there's drummers that are 10 times better than me that could walk in and fill my shoes. But I don't think, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, the whole package that I offer, I'm at a gig 3 hours early. I'm completely set up before anybody else in the band gets there. I'm asking for set lists a week in advance so I can double check songs that we may not have played in a while. When we get to that venue and the next person gets there, I'll help them offload. Time to build the PA, I'm going to build the PA with everybody. I'm trying to stay in the forefront. I'm always asking Paul questions because I don't want him to have to go it alone. So I think that really helps. That parlays over from my military career into the band, that Paul knows he can absolutely depend on me in any way, shape, or form. I've seen drummers walk in 15 minutes prior to downbeat, literally put their kid on stage and start playing. And I'm just like, well, how do you do that?
Yeah. But you're a professional, Chris. That's what professionals do.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say, your success in the area didn't come from any other reason except your talent and your hard work. And it goes for your whole band. I couldn't be happier for you.
Appreciate that.
I do want to ask about future plans. Is there going to be any recording anytime soon?
Not with this band. I don't think so. I have 2 other side projects going on. One is a female fronted band called Foreign Her. So they're all females. And I had wanted to do a Foreigner tribute band, but I found them on Craigslist. I shot them an email and I simply said, if you don't come across a female drummer and you don't mind having a male sitting in the back, I would love to play. So we're in the process of building that show. I just recently joined a local pop rock band called Bad Influence. That's pretty much taken all the pop rock, putting a really hard edge on it. That should probably debut here in about 4 or 5 months. But I'm not doing any original stuff. And all of my personal original material, I probably have 2 albums worth. I'm just not at a point where I want to release that to anybody. It's kind of, you just do it for your personal reasons because you have it building up inside. You need some place to get that out. So, I've done recordings on my own of that stuff, but nothing I'm willing to share.
Yeah, it's completely understandable because it's an expression. And if it's an expression you're not comfortable sharing, then by all means you shouldn't share it. It doesn't mean you didn't get a lot of positivity, a lot of therapy, a lot of good vibes out of it. And you may change your mind at some point too. There's always that aspect of it. Certainly go back to it. But really at this point, Chris, I do want to thank you. I know you've got a lot of shout outs out there. So I want to give you a couple minutes, say hi to some of the people, maybe people from the old days up till now. The floor's yours, sir.
Man, shout outs. First and foremost, got to go to my mom and dad. Mom's still in Hackettstown. Unfortunately, Dad passed away in '96, but I know he looks down on me because when I was a junior in high school and I had a drum kit that was falling apart out from underneath me and I had a job, my dad took me to the bank, got me my first checking account, got me $1,000 loan, off we went, purchased all new hardware, and he helped me redo my drums. So I know he's looking down on me, and I share every day with him. And Mom has always been number one in my corner. My brother Bob, who is in Arizona, he is my number one influence of music that has anything to do with music, and I appreciate him for getting me involved. People that we used to play with in Hackettstown, oh my God, Iron Fist. I was just telling a story to my fiance about Todd Broadhead, lead singer. And, my mom worked in the front office of Hackettstown High School, so she knew everybody. And Todd was this phenomenal artist. And I remember for Christmas, I opened up a Christmas present, and it was a jean jacket. And I held it up and I said, oh, wow, maybe I could get Todd to paint this. My brother turns to me and he says, what's that crap all over the back of the friggin' jean jacket? I turn it around. It was the Rush Hemispheres album cover painted on the back of my jacket.
Wow.
But Todd Broadhead, lead singer, Jimmy Frost was the guitarist. I don't remember the bass player. Joe Perez on drums was an inspiration. Ken Kowalik, the bass player, who actually gave up playing drums to play bass in a band because I wasn't about to give up drums. Kevin Colbert was my next door neighbor. He played guitar. Mark Iapolo was the singer for a band called Savior that we were playing with in high school. Lee McGregor was the singer. Dave Reed was a guitarist in Cool People on a Funny Farm. Jeff Becker plays drums. We were mutual friends, and he still reaches out to me every now and then and give me a drumming shout. So, you can't beat that. But anybody who's ever been an influence, anybody who I've ever played with, I don't look at other drummers as, in that young maturity, you look and you say, I used to be jealous. Like, I used to think to myself, Tommy Lee, what's that all about? I mean, he's not good. And then as you get older, you realize it wasn't that he wasn't good. It was that I was jealous of everything that he had done. And then I grew to appreciate what he had gone through to get to where he was. And, you go through that with a whole slew of drummers. And there is not a single drummer that hasn't been an influence. And when I get parents that walk up to me at shows and ask me if I would teach their children, my answer is no, because I'm a firm believer that their foundation must be on the basis of rudiments and being able to read music, and I can't teach that. But I have learned from drummers that have been playing for 6 months. I can literally look at them and learn something from them. So every musician, every drummer I meet is an influence, and I can't thank them all enough because they help form who we are for our future.
Very well said. Very well said. Now, I do want to take a step down memory lane in Hackettstown because the middle school, and I know you mentioned the high school and some of your buddies, and we do have some mutual friends. They're all fine musicians. The interesting thing is, for a very small town and a very small school, not unlike the area that I moved to and met Greno and other musicians here, there was a large underground rock and roll element brewing. How much do you think that had to do with the music that you learned at Hackettstown Middle? Because I know that's where I got my start. First time a guitar was ever put in my hands, played Tom Dooley, but I was hooked.
Well, I think, for that era of music, what are we talking about here? Like 80, 81, 82?
I'm afraid no. Yeah.
Should I not have said those numbers?
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. 1, 2, 3 AARP, right? Yeah.
I think we were all listening to the same type of music. And we all had the same influences, no matter what they were. I mean, you heard me talk about Iron Fist, whose number one influence was Iron Maiden, and Judas Priest and all of that. So no matter what you listen to, I'm a major Rush fan. Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden was a phenomenal influence of mine. But I think all of us as kids, we were listening to the same thing, and it just drew us in. And it was just something that made our hearts beat differently than those that weren't musically inclined, if I so may. You know what they say about musicians, they're very strong in math and science. And we don't have much of a grammatical experience
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny you should say that because the guitar player is just the opposite. I mean, the exact opposite, right? Which is why I hold both you gentlemen in such high esteem because I couldn't do what you do. You guys not only are both fantastic drummers, but you're also both excellent guitar players. I've heard you both play, and I don't know how you do it, man. I can't pat my head, rub my stomach, you know. So, G, I'm going to start with you, man. What do you see as the biggest challenge in switching from drums to guitar? And then we'll go to Slats.
It's just really apples and oranges for me. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's completely different. Bass and my bass playing is a lot more influenced by my drumming than my guitar playing. So
that makes sense, Chris.
My problem is that every rhythm I play on the guitar becomes a staccato rhythm. It becomes ingrained in a percussive type technique, and that's my hardest thing to overcome because I'm trying to get away with that. It's like singing. Somebody asks me to sing, and I become percussive in my singing as those words have to match up to the beat, and it's so hard to close your eyes and sing over the top of a staccato rhythm and make that singing very smooth. So I struggle with that in the guitar.
Very, very interesting. You explained it so well, but it would have never crossed my mind. How about you, Glenn?
No, it's I mean, it makes sense.
Fascinating. Right.
I know a lot of guitar players that kind of approach the bass in a rhythmic manner, so makes sense.
Yeah, and not being a drummer, but being a bass player, I definitely play bass like a guitar player and play guitar like a bass player. It's very symbiotic. But the drums, forget it. I can't do it. So I have to talk to both of you. It really is. So, Chris, really want to thank you for the time. I hope we can do this again. Any extra messages out there? Any websites you want to promote before we get you out of here, brother? I really want to thank you for your time, but do not let me forget. Congratulations. The gentleman is engaged to be married, and I couldn't be happier for you, Chris.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that very much from the both of you. Again, you can follow the Cheez Whiz Band at cheezwhizband.com. We're just, like I said, we're booking some venues out through the rest of the year. One of our second most favorite venue, maybe our first most, we're playing Belvino Winery out in wine country this next Sunday from noon to 4 p.m. And what's great about that is even though it's a winery, people bring their children. And the children are dressed in 80s. And I'm talking kids that are knee-high to a grasshopper up to kids that are shoulder height. They dress in 80s and they know all the words. And it's just amazing to see that.
That sounds fun.
That decade of music, it crosses over everywhere and to everyone.
So true.
Yeah, and I think it's going to continue to do so for a long, long time. And like I said earlier in the interview, the world needs it right now. So, Chris, props to you, my man.
Yeah, man.
We want to thank you for your time. Feel free to stop by anytime. We'd love to have you on again. Talk a little bit more about some shows that are going on, what's going on in your life. And again, congratulations on all your success. Couldn't be prouder of you, brother.
Thank you very much to both of you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, Chris. You guys have been tuning in to the Sunday Spin every Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm Greno G. I'm also with Vinny G. We got Chris Slattery in the house today. You can also view this on Stables Media YouTube channel, Technicolor Dreams YouTube channel, Facebook Live. Want to pay some bills? Thank you very much to the folks at What's Left Records here in Colorado Springs, Grooves Records in San Francisco. You got to check them out on Discogs because the storefront is currently not open. We are always powered by Stables Media. Very important reminder, next week, the one, the only, the incomparable Rob Brewer from the Unwritten Law ilk. Rob was in that band for like 18 years, and then we're going to hear about how it ended. No, we will. But yeah, it's going to be a good time. Chris, thank you so much. Keep rocking them skins, my brother.
Thank you, you too.
Guys, no outro music today, so Vinny's going to play a little flamenco.
Yeah, I'm going to get my kazoo out. Right, absolutely.
There you go.
We'll see you next week. Peace.
Yeah, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week on the Sunday Spin. Shalom.